Hello everyone, nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nub Raids. We are on the test server. As you can see, thank you to Plarium as always for this, where it is finally here. Hard mode, Faction Wars. I am in, and in today's video, I am going to give you a full preview. So let's go. Number one, how do you unlock hard mode difficulty? You have to fully clear all of the stars on normal. So you have to, complete, and I presume collect Lydia. Maybe you don't need to collect her. Maybe just getting the 945 stars is enough, but you need to fully clear it, and then at that point, hard mode will open up. Let's look at our main rewards here, first of all. So we come into hard mode, for getting your star ratings, let's move me even more out of the way. You can see half of my face. These are the rewards. You're going to be getting some relic fragments, some primal shards, etc. Moving up, even more relic fragments, void shard. There are some gems sprinkled in as well. A nice rare gem. Wow, exciting. We go further up, more stuff, more stuff. There's some legendary books sprinkled in as well. We're getting better qualities of gems and mythical tome. That's nice. Over here, we're getting some gray essences, sacred shard, some coins, some mythical stuff. Very nice for crafting relics. And there we go. I believe, yeah, you get 50 here. So for fully clearing this, you will get one full mythical craft. You get 25, 25, and then you get 50. There are big chunks of energy. There's some books, there's shards, there's some red essence at the end, 20 red essence. There's a few primal shards throughout. So I think they're kind of nice rewards, but it is just a once-off, right? These are once-off stars. They're nice sort of stuff. And one thing I don't know, I believe that for killing the bosses, much like in normal difficulty, you will get one-time rewards, perhaps books, like I don't know. I'm guessing maybe when you kill the stage 21 boss, like maybe you get a mythical book. Maybe you get a primal shard or something. Maybe you get a chunk of relics. I'm not sure, honestly, because they unlocked all of the stages for us to test, so I never got to see any of those first kill rewards. But I mean, you'll see them as soon as it goes live in the game. But just note, I think it's just for the boss stages, one-time rewards. Now, for your farming stuff, we have a big change. First up, glyphs. We now have, you guys, I read your comments and people said they didn't want this. Well, put me down here. Tough luck, because it's happened. Unfortunately, so glyphs have now been slightly changed. Your original 6-star glyphs, and in fact, actually the 1 to 6-star glyphs are now uncommon quality. You'll now start getting 6-star rare, 6-star epic, and even 6-star legendary glyphs. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll be 6-star mythical. And then maybe another day they'll be 6-star celestial. I don't know. What are they? They'll definitely do something eventually, right? Imagine where the game's going to be in 10 years. It's going to be a mad place. But if we look at speed glyphs, for example, your old 6-star speed glyphs gave you 3 to 8 speed. 6-star rares, 4 to 9. 6-star epics, 5 to 10. And then a big jump for 6-star legendaries to 7 to 12. So worst case scenario, a legendary 6-star speed glyph is like almost a max roll of your old 6-star speed glyph. And potentially it goes up to 50% stronger, 12 speed versus 8 speed. It's 50% increase. So that's really powerful. And again, likewise, we can see, for example, accuracy 6 to 16, then 8 to 18, 10 to 20, and then a bigger jump, 14 to 24. So all of this is going to add up, of course, to basically a whole lot more stats in the game. It is a whole lot more stats. That'll make you a lot more powerful. It's a pretty big reward. Now, for the materials, these are also the materials. We can see this. So you're obviously getting your stuff for mostly resilience and is this one swift parry? I can never remember, but whatever, swift parry, deflection, resilience, and then perception. That stuff is still there. But now you will also be getting the stuff for crafting the relics. How does it work in terms of the drops? Glyphs, it's just sort of saying 4 to 6. Oh, here we go. Okay, so glyphs, you're getting 4 to 6-star glyphs. Let me see. How does that compare to normal? Yeah, so it's the same really as the end of normal. 4 to 6-star up to stage 6. And then it becomes, you can start dropping 6-star rare. Then you're going to get 4 to 6 with 6-star rares until stage 11. Then you'll start dropping 6-star epics. And so on. And then I'd imagine, oh no, not stage 15. It's stage 16 is when you can start dropping 6-star legendaries. Stage 15, it only drops 5 to 6 stars. So you don't get any more 4 stars. You will always be getting 5 to 6 star. And then, yeah, obviously, The last stage, it's still 5 to 6 star, but you can get 6 stars. I imagine that each stage will have a slightly different drop table. I don't have details for that. That will be data mined when it actually goes live. But presumably, you know, like your chance to get whatever a 6-star legendary is probably higher on stage 21 than stage 16, I would guess. So I think, you know, your chances for the better glyphs will also go up. On top of on top of just getting access to them at all. For your so you're still getting materials wise. It's still epic legendary. They're not giving you any mythic materials. I guess it doesn't make sense. They've got the mythic charms now. I'm a bit surprised they didn't include any mythic charms in this, but they haven't. They're just from mostly Cursed City. And then we come to the relic material. So again, you're getting rare, rare, rare. Stage 7, you start getting rare and epic relic materials. Rare, epic, rare, epic, rare, epic. Stage 11, you start getting legendary. So stage 11 is a pretty big jump. It's where you start getting epic 6-star glyphs and you start getting legendary relic materials and so on. And then I'm guessing at stage 16, yes it is. Stage 16 is the other big jump where you start to get mythical materials. I would not expect to get much. Yeah, I mean, how much do we expect? It takes several months probably for most players to get enough mythical relics fragments to craft a mythical relic, or to attempt to craft a mythical relic from Chimera. You get one every 1.5 months, or I guess every 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks from Live Arena. I'm guessing it's probably going to take about 3 months, even at probably stage 21, to earn enough mythical materials to craft a mythic relic. Maybe less than that, but I'm setting my expectations low. So there we go. Those are the rewards. I will talk about Polara in a separate video on the new champions. Let's take a quick look at her visually, though. She is a damage dealer in Form 1 with a big AoE attack that can activate burns and block revives enemies with burn or freeze. She's got a big ignore defense, a 2 triple hit that destroys defense, destroys resistance, puts burn on all enemies if she kills somebody, and can potentially ignore a 50% defense if the target's under burn or freeze. Her A1, extra hit if the target's under any debuffs, 25% chance of an extra turn. And her passive, she does 25% more damage if enemies are under burn or freeze, 100% more damage if they have both burn and freeze, and she ignores the damage reduction granted by freeze. Kind of crazy. Her Form 2 is very interesting. So she brings a revive. She will revive each ally once per round, including herself, and freezes them, and they take 90% less damage while frozen. She has an AoE that puts intercept on everyone, AoE freeze. She's got a new debuff called Ensnare with block debuff strengthen, and her A1 can put out ally protection on random allies. So she is pretty cool. I'll talk more about her in depth and what that kit means and the implications in my champion review video. We've got 4 new champions. It's a short one, but make sure to check it out. Okay, now the next thing to do, actually one thing to check real fast. I forgot to actually check this. Is there still the quest to use a rare in Faction Wars? I don't know. There's now a defeat a Faction War boss. I think that did exist before. I haven't actually been checking if we still have the advanced quest where you need to use a rare champion. So I'm not sure about that. Another thing to look at. It does cost you 6 keys. 6 to run one of these crypts. And they've now added 2x, but also 3x super raids. So there you go. If you have enough crypt keys, you can do a 3x run. So yeah, you can basically, if you get your extra 6 keys for 18 for the day, you can do a triple run, which is kind of cool. So this is actually a bit of a time saver that's worth noting, because with your super raids here, it used to cost 8 keys. So, hang on. Sorry, it would cost. I'm absolutely brain farting here. Oh, so maybe is it still a time saver? Yeah, I guess so. So you use 8, so you'd use 16 keys, and you'd have 2 left over. So you'd have to do 2 super raids on stage 21, and then you need to do stage 9. Now you can just do your full 18 keys. You don't use 16. You'll now use 18 for this with your 3x super raid. Is that right? Yeah, 6 plus, yeah, it is. There we go. Cool. Correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't prepare that bit ahead of time. Now, here comes the kicker. Let's look at the actual gameplay. Okay, here we go. So, let's jump in. Let's take a look. The way this works, let's actually look at Dark Elves as an example. Let's go through every single stage and look at the conditions. The way it works, you get 1 star for beating the stage, straightforward. 2 stars, you have to use 5 champions, and you must end the stage with everyone alive. This is the same as the 3-star requirement for normal difficulty. Now, there's also a 3-star requirement, which changes for every single stage. Now, some of these things repeat. So something I'm pretty sure we'll see with the Dark Elves, for example, place 20 poisons. You'll see place 40 poisons, place 60 poisons. You'll see some of the conditions repeat very commonly throughout the crypts. There tends to be some one-off conditions. Let me show you an example. Here we go. Let's go through this. So, for example, some common conditions. Place X number of debuffs, stuns, freezes, poisons, provokes, blah, blah, blah. Anything. That's a very common one, and you usually see that a few times per crypt, repeating and getting harder as you go up. This one can be a little bit tricky. Changing buff and debuff duration a certain number of times. So you need to have a champion that increases buff duration or increases debuff duration to get these. That can be a bit tricky, very champion dependent. For example, placing 20 poisons, you can do that with just a toxic set if you have to. Affecting skill cooldowns, that's a tricky one. So, for example, that's in the Knight's Revenant. This is not so bad. I think it's in Sylvan. No, it's definitely in Sylvan Watchers. It's not too bad. You can use White Dryad Nia. You could use Reflex sets. You could use Merciless sets. You can use champions that can increase enemy skills, like Alice, the Wanderer in Sacred Order. But that one can actually be a little bit tricky. Defeat enemies while they're under a certain number of debuffs. That can be quite hard. And then I think every faction seems to have at one stage to use 3 epics. Generally, actually quite easy. By the time you've gotten far enough in Faction Wars Hard to get to the 3 epic stage, you should have most of the epics, and then you can put your best gear on them for the 3-star. It's not too bad. Here's some nasty ones. I'll just mention these. 3 ones that are quite nasty. Every champion has to be alive at all times, so you can never die. That can be very difficult if it's at a late stage, because enemies can hit very hard. One of the worst conditions, prepare yourself for this in advance, guys, is no weak hits. If you land one single weak hit, you will fail. This is usually combined with enemies with taunts and provokes, so it's a real pain in the ass. This is very hard. Often this comes down to how many Void Legendaries you have. You could maybe try to get lucky with Affinity Breaker, but it's very tough. And then another one that's quite common, that's very difficult, actually, is to kill every enemy while they have 0 buffs. That sounds easy. Trust me, this was very hard. Not every faction is going to have a good block buff champion or a good buff removal champion. That can be a bit of a struggle. And this condition is nearly always combined with champions like Elva and Oella. Grand Oak Podrick is another common one. Champions that put out buffs on their turn passively. Also, champions who put out, like Oella, puts out a continuous heal when people take a certain amount of damage. So she starts pumping out buffs passively. This is going to be really tough. But here we go. So, for example, let's go through the Dark Elf, stage by stage. Stage 1, place 20 poisons. Unfortunately, it's going to send us back to the end every time. Stage 2, place 10 freeze debuffs. This one is one of the obnoxious ones, actually. Here you go. I wanted to call this out specifically. If we look at Dark Elves, and if I look at debuff, I look at freeze, that's it. That is it, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 2 options here. We've got Luria that I have and Dirandil. That's it. 2 epics, which is worrying. Luria has a 75% chance to freeze AoE on a 4-turn cooldown. We've got to place 10 of those. Dirandil, I think it's only on his A1. Each hit has a 20% chance to freeze. 30% on each critical hit, so 2 30% chances. Pretty rough. I'll be honest, there's not too many that are this bad. I think one that YST has found, because we're testing every single stage. And we'll talk about that at the end and what you can expect in terms of guides. I think he said Orcs has like a stun condition, but there's like almost no stun champions in the Orcs. That it's very, very hard. So that one is actually quite annoying, guys. 10 freeze debuff. So save up some Frostbite sets. My recommendation. It will make it easier. And just stun, toxic sets, provoke sets, all of these conditional sets, daze sets. Some of the factions you need to sleep people. Daze sets would be good as well. All that sort of stuff is going to be really helpful. Let's look at stage 3. Stage 3, 10 provoke debuffs. Very easy with physics. Provoke set helps as well. Stage 4, and then we'll run some fights at the end. There you go, 10 sleep debuffs. So either you've got a champion who can play sleep knock the paralyzer. That's it, right? If you got knocked, not so bad. If you don't have knocked, haha, hope you got some daze sets. Dark Elves is some of the worst conditions. I think it's going to be quite hard. Stage 5, enemies defeat enemies while they're under Hex. Not too bad because you've got Mithrala. Stage 6, manipulate turn meter 40 times. So increase turn meter, decrease turn meter. This one is, again, probably not so bad because you've got like Sylar. Yeah, then we come to the bosses. There are a bunch of new bosses. They can be quite challenging. Every single boss stage has the same condition. Stage 7 for every faction, cleared in 100 turns. Stage 14 for each faction, cleared in 150. And stage 21, clear it in 200. That's it. It's the same for every faction. The boss that is assigned to each one is randomized, and the waves, there's a few different waves that can be before the bosses. They can actually be quite nasty on stage 21. They can be extremely bad. And yeah, we'll look at the bosses and stuff in a bit, but they can be pretty rough. Stage 8, defeat all enemies when they've no buffs. Luckily, this is early in the faction, but this still can be kind of annoying. Yeah, that can be kind of annoying, right? They've got cleansers. That's one of the easier factions because it comes early. Stage 9, place 15 for his debuff. So we're seeing the same thing, but it's harder. Stage 10, 3 epic champions. Again, this is early in the crypt, and you get a lot of epics from Doom Tower, so that's not too bad. 15 provokes for stage 11. Stage 12, we come in, manipulate skill cooldowns 15 times. Starts to get a good bit more difficult. Was that stage 11? No, sorry, that was stage 12. My bad. Stage 13 next. We've seen stage 14 already. Stage 13. Do not receive more than 10 debuffs. So, I mean, like, if you get hit by an AoE, you know, and you've got 5 debuffs, you're done. So you kind of just need to control them the whole time. We've seen stage 14. Stage 15. Beat the stage, all champions alive at all times. I talked about this. This can be quite challenging. For example, you've got this guy comes in and he gives all of the dwarves stone skin, right, on that wave. So the whole enemy team starts with stone skin. That's tricky, you know? Stage 16, place 10 plus block revives. This is a pain in the butt. That's a really nasty one. Stage 17, don't land any weak hits. Extremely difficult. Extremely hard. Stage 18, defeat 10 champions while your champions are under perfect fail. That one is also really horrible. I forget what I did for this one, but that one is super nasty. Maybe I wasn't able to do that one. Stage 19, defeat 3 enemies while they're under 10 debuffs. I highly recommend the Toxic set for this. For me, this is easy enough with Supreme KO and with Knock the Paralyzer. That's fine. In fact, I think for this later stage, I think I only used Knocked. I think I didn't use Supreme KO. He's too squishy. That's pretty easy if you've got someone with lots of poisons, but some factions don't have any good poisoners whatsoever. And it's actually really hard to get 10 debuffs if you don't have good poisoners, AoE. So Toxic sets for some factions is really important. Like, I think I had that for Sacred Order, and I was like, this is horrible. I forget the stage. That was stage 19. And then finally, stage 20 for them is don't let your enemies heal, which is really, for example, why is that so hard? I mean, if we look at this last wave, Raka, at the start of each turn, puts continuous heal on the lowest HP ally. Her A1 heals. So it's not enough to use, lock her out of her skills, increase her skill cooldown. If she gets any turn, she's going to heal. Nogdar, he comes back. He comes back alive with full turn meter, and his A1 heals. That's fun. He also puts out continuous heals over here as well. So that's another nightmare. Well, what if we just bring in stuns and whatnot? Well, if you try to AoE stun the wave, whenever Supreme Galek gets stunned or any crowd control, he removes it and fully heals. So, of some of these conditions, I think sound not too bad. Don't let your enemies heal. Actually sounds pretty reasonable. That sounds easy. But then when you look at the actual waves, it's actually extremely hard. One thing I want to show you is difficulty. Let's jump in for like stage 1. We'll just use the same team just to keep it simple. Difficulty. What have I found? I found generally for most of these factions, I've personally on my account, playing for 4 years, I found the first few stages extremely easy, and you could just like blow them up. Like, look at that. My Visix almost killed a wave, and like they're just dead. Yeah. So I found the first few stages extremely easy. Generally the first 6 stages before the first boss. In fact, I have to take damage dealers out because we're simply killing them too fast. They don't do any damage to us either. So it's like, oh, I need to remove damage dealers in order to actually complete the conditions. So there you can see, stage 1 is very easy. If I actually, for even comparison's sake, some of my champions are going to be missing gear. If I run, I don't know, stage 20 of normal, part of it is that now I've got a lot of Great Hall stuff maxed out, but we can see it's probably somewhat similar. Yeah, you can see it's a bit harder than normal difficulty. Like, it's just how much power creep there is in the game now with the bonuses. So it's a bit harder. It's a bit harder than normal, but it's not too crazy. Stage 9 often is the first power creep point. Why? Let me jump in. Let me show you. In a lot of factions, stage 9. Obviously, the boss as well on stage 7 can be quite tricky. But stage 9, this man right here, Toshiro. Okay, well, not Toshiro. Jingwan, very nasty. Very nasty. We are completely destroying him. So you can just nuke through it. But these waves can be very bad. Why? Simple enough. Jingwan, with his passive, removes crowd control. He has a cooldown on it. It happened just we got a single target. I think provoke. I've got provoke set on Mithrala. Let's see if we can see it here. Like if Vizix, we'll see. Oh no, there we go. We got the provoke. He removes it and puts out block debuffs. He can do that AoE. Here, it's worked out somewhat well, and this is where you start to see the problem. And then he's got really nasty debuffs. So I can still very much overpower stage 9, but this is where I think a lot of players might get stuck pretty hard because it does get kind of nasty, right? Jingwan will remove your if you only have like one provoke champion. Let's say I just had Vizix for crowd control. If she tries to AoE provoke, he removes it and stops everyone. Then Elva can cleanse. Then this guy can put up increased resist on everyone. Jingwan starts blocking active skills and blocking buffs and so on. You can visually see here this second wave. We're getting through just fine. We're overpowering it, but it's starting to get a little bit harder. So stage 9, stuff gets a little bit harder. The big difficulty spike is really, I find, for an end game account, stage 15 to stage 21. That's where stuff gets really tough. And some of these bosses, this purple boss is literally the worst boss of all time. I'll show that to you as well. Stage 15 is a big power spike. And yeah, you often see the same type of waves. So you'll see that Jingwan Elva wave, but it will keep getting stronger. This is almost a bit of a stronger version. But yeah, as we go through, a couple of things for you to watch out for. This one is not too bad because we can just provoke this wave and it's fine. Control, here's some quick tips, guys. Control champions are god tier. That's really what it's about. Control the enemy waves. For the enemy team, bomb champions and HP nukers are the most dangerous. Why? Well, let's come in here. This could be quite scary actually because of Jingwan, etc. This actually works out really well. That again, our provoke set is tricking the Jingwan passive, and that's one way to play around it. You can see attack nukers aren't the worst, but Jingwan still being a problem because they need crit rate. You will run into some champions who can. Oh, there's a dead champion. Some champs who can increase their own crit rate. That's quite dangerous. But like for crit damage dealers, they still only have the base 15% crit rate, so they're not actually that much of a threat. Bombs only scale off of attack. Commodus, by the way, actually is in a couple of the waves. That's fun. His scale off just HP. I think that I fought Commodus in maybe stage 21. I think each of his bombs did 146,000 damage or something like that, for instance. But you'll run into like Nishaks, and the Nishak bombs will be doing maybe even on a lower wave. Like I think I fought a Nishaka maybe around stage 11 or 12, and he was doing like almost 50,000 per bomb. The attack stat goes really high. HP nukers as well. As you can see, the enemies, when you get to these higher stages, they increase their HP more than anything else, because obviously we can basically ignore all defense. So they need to give these enemies absolutely tons of HP so that they won't just fall over dead. So HP nukers who scale off of HP scale incredibly hard and become terrifying. Arix in particular is going to be a nightmare for a lot of people because Arix, she's got AoEs with HP damage. And she also heals herself a ton with her passive, so she's very difficult to kill. But yeah, you can see this wave has been a bit more of a challenge, but it's not too bad. Like, we're getting through. So that is also something I would say is that it's also not too bad. I mean, let's see the dwarf wave for fun. I know you guys want to see it. I'll pause it real fast. Okay, here we go. We're about to go into it. Also worth noting, for this particular this is hilarious. One fun little tip here, by the way, which is really a new thing that we discovered recently, is that stone skin, yikes, stone skin is the 50% chance to not remove stone skin comes from the set, not from the buff itself. So champions like Eilil, Theodosia, Black Tusk here, when they put out stone skin buffs, there's no chance to protect it. If I go in with, let's say, a Madame Ceres with enough accuracy, 97% of the time she'll remove it. 3% they'll resist because that's how the game works. But yeah, like we can see, this is quite a nasty wave. We're not going to make it through. Well, this stage we had to beat it with everyone alive at all times, so we obviously failed it. If you fail the 2-star, if you end the run with one champion dead, it won't count the 3-star either, I'm pretty sure. So you'd only get 1 star. So yeah, that's tricky. If we look at stage 21 as an example as well, again, we're missing some gear on champs, but just to see the power progression, again, like I said, for me, on the early stages for my account and for the champions I've got, extremely easy. I mean, here you can see we've got a problem. Number one, we just got thoroughly outsped, and now we're starting to be in a bit of trouble. But we can see like this attack-based nuker, not too bad. Eilil is bad. Let's see if he gets a turn. Eilil. Okay, no, he actually just did an A1. I don't know why. It's a bit strange. Maybe was he provoked? I don't know. But it gets really hard. You just saw like stage 1 versus stage 21. The power differential is absolutely crazy. So there's a huge progression here. I feel like it's probably going to be something along the lines of Curse City hard, stage 1, all the way to some of the harder stages in Centranos. I think this is less frustrating overall than Centranos. You only have to do the 3-star once. You know, that's it. And then you can farm it with your best team. Eilil's A2, he doesn't want to do it, but that can hurt us. But yeah, you get the point here that this stuff can be, really, really tough. Let's look at a different faction. And just to illustrate, with the Lizards, for example, if we look at some of their top conditions, stage 15, beat the stage with all champions alive at all times. You're going to see some of the same stuff repeat, particularly the higher stuff. Get an extra turn 5+ times. There's another interesting one. That's not too bad, actually. Relentless sets, and you can do it. And Relentless is pretty good. In general, don't land any weak hits. Extremely annoying. And you've got like this wave is extremely annoying as well. Stage 18, defeat 4+ enemies before they take a turn. That's also quite difficult. The easiest way to do it is usually just to nuke, because you got some really fast enemies that can be tricky. Like Tetsuya, for instance, he gets turn meter when you take a turn. So if your damage dealer is not insanely fast, this guy gets those to turn meter, and then he comes in and he steals all of your turn meter, you know? And then it's really tough. Oh, and he, by the way, he makes his entire team with 3 faction allies immune to turn meter reduction. So that becomes tricky. Like, you just sort of, it's very hard to do this on the final wave, for example. Stage 19, defeat 3 enemies while they're under 10 debuffs. Again, that can be really, really tricky. I can't remember what composition. I think I used Venomage for this. It's like, if you've got the right epic, pump out poison, it's actually quite easy. But yeah, otherwise it can be hard. And stage 20, this one is really nasty. Let me actually show you this one. This one is horrible. Keep all of your champions above 75% HP. I forgot to mention this one. So usually what you have on this, the Knights Revenant wave, what will they do? Hopefully we've got gear on people and have not stripped it off. So number one, you're going to have hegemons in the waves. So you're like, well, maybe, you know, if there's hegemons in the wave, throw a shield set on. No problem. A nice little shield set. Then wave 2, they usually hit you. They go, surprise. It's Ancora Narcissus. Get wrecked. And that's extremely hard. because as I said, provoke champions are king for faction wars hard. Provoke controlling enemies with stuns, freezes, provokes, anything like decreased speed, decreased turn meter. That is the best stuff. That makes it very easy. Here you can see like we're ripping through pretty easily. Let's save our A1s for wave 2 because I'm a bit worried. And I think we're doing this condition just fine. Like I said, I think that this is nowhere near as obnoxious a challenge, but we come to wave 2 and there's no hegemon, but we've got a bit of a problem. Let me hit auto. What is the problem? Well, the problem, we've got two problems. So number one, Ancora, because our Romantu's not fast enough. And again, let me actually pause it here and say we've got Romantu who can block passives. That's good. But most factions don't have Romantu. In fact, he's the only faction with Romantu. Ancora, with her passive, takes all crowd control off of Narses. So you cannot hard crowd control Narses. You can't stun him. You can't provoke him. He will nuke you. What if we increase his skill cooldowns? That can work. He'll still A1 you, but that can work. But Ancora, with her passive, can keep breaking free of control, and she can remove all the debuffs from all the enemies. Or she can A1, and she can reset Narses' cooldowns. Or she can revive someone with their cooldowns reset. So this becomes actually quite a nightmare. And then, of course, we've got Commodus, who... The AI for the mythical enemies, you start fighting mythical enemies stage 15 after the second boss, stage 15 and up. Here, I mean, we might be fine doing this. You can see it's certainly very doable, and you can easily just nuke these waves into oblivion. I don't think it's going to be for an end game player, it's going to be fine, and especially for the Krakens, like for a Kraken who's coming in with like their +4 mythicals, you know, it's sort of like that situation of like, congrats, you know, I guess you spent enough money that this content is completely boring and irrelevant. Like you literally have to do nothing and you've beaten it. But yeah, it looks like we're actually going to smash through this one just fine. And yeah, we still kept everyone above 75% HP. I mean, let's complete this. This was a reasonably high stage. We might see Arix cause some trouble here. Again, Hegemon's kind of annoying, but Krisk really counters him for this faction. But you can see Arix, every time we crit anyone, she's being healed for 14,000 HP. So we can see right there, ooh, she's starting to smash it with some AoEs. This Losen Kaleth can be quite annoying as well. Never mind. Romantu really hard carries. Yeah, so there you go. But you can see she's starting to hit fairly hard. And, you know, we've got a tanky team with a Krisk and a Pythion with lots of buffs. And these guys are debuffed to heck. We're still struggling just a little bit. We've blocked the passive, so it's actually not too bad. And they are very much provoked. I think we're going to make it through. No, never mind. I failed. I failed it. Just like that. I wasn't paying attention, didn't see where we failed it, but we did fail. So no such luck. Run it back again. Yeah, you can see the HP damage. It starts, and this is a strong team. Yes. Here's something else I want to touch on, guys. What can you expect from me, etc.? So one thing we're going to be doing, here we go, is myself and YST. We have split each of the factions between us, and we are literally playing every single stage, breaking down the teams that we've used, enemies to watch out for, how we completed the challenge, etc. And this is only going to improve. This is going to be stuff on hellhades.com. So literally a dedicated guide for every single stage of every single faction. We haven't fully tested all the bosses yet, so I'm not touching on them right now. Let me show you the purple boss. Let's throw our lizards against. The purple boss is he in the lizards actually? Yeah, he's a low rank, but we'll go against it. Purple boss is the worst boss ever invented. But yeah, we've tested each of the factions. I'll try keep an eye on that on my second monitor. But yeah, these are, here you go, some quick faction reviews from what I've covered so far. I had to get a new keyboard while doing this because it was putting in double spaces. Knight's Revenant was extremely easy, and Empress basically solos the whole faction. He's so unbelievably strong. I found Undead Hordes very easy as well because of Sifi Rotus and Fabian. Fabian can completely control the waves, and all the waves control, and he removes buffs too. Control. What it is all about. Sylvan Watchers was actually relatively easy. Creodon, who's an epic, is better than most legendaries. And I had Eilil and Elva. Eilil was amazing because his A2 ignores defense, and you go, oh, Elva's a problem. One shot Elva, no problem. She's dead. You can just delete any champion. So I found Sylvan, maybe Sylvan was more medium. Now, I'd say it was pretty easy. Lizardmen was kind of medium difficulty. Lazarius and Krisk were great. Romantu, total MVP. Sacred Order is actually a little bit tricky. And then I actually found High Elves quite hard. High Elves, terrible crowd control champions. Most of their legendaries have like 4-turn cooldowns. And then I still need to test Ogre, and I've tested Dark Elves. This is sort of my initial thought on it, though. My initial sort of rankings so far. I'm gonna like go back through it and we'll see. But let's check out this boss. I mean, as you can see, actually throwing in this team right here, this team does not have enough damage right now. We've got 100 turns, and we've already used 60. So this team, too defensive. We're obviously not taking enough damage, and we don't have the turns. But we come to this boss. Let me just show you this boss as one final example. This boss. Okay. This passive, guys. This passive. Let me tell you, this boss, when you fight this boss on stage 21, prepare yourself for rage. This is the boss I think will ruin Faction Wars hard for people. This will block your runs. I'm laughing, but it's bad. Has a 30% chance to convert all active debuffs or those that are placed on Tainted Mirror into their mirrored equivalent buffs. And a 30% chance to convert all active buffs or those that are placed on an enemy into their mirrored equivalent debuffs. Now, here is the key part. All active. All active. So, for example, if I buff up with him, okay, that's not too bad. That's not too bad. Hang on, let me get some more buffs. Let me get some more buffs. Actually, I can debuff him here, which is oh, look at that. Hang on. This should be a good part. Let's see if I do this. Okay, it's not really triggering too much. Maybe if I do this, I might have too much resistance on people. But whenever I place a debuff, so whenever I place a buff, look at that, look at that. I just buffed up, and I buffed up with increased speed on everyone. That's all it does, increase speed. Well, on my champion over here, not only does it flip the increased speed, it will flip potentially every buff. He just got block debuffs, flipped to block buffs. He just got strengthen, flipped to weaken. And it's the same with debuffs on the boss. If I'm like, this is pretty good. I've got weaken, I've got decreased speed, I've got block buffs. This is great. Well, I mean, like if I come in, this is risky. If I put in a leech, every time I'm placing a debuff, there's a chance that it will flip all of these. All of these could be flipped into positive ones. We'll see. I clearly don't have enough debuffs over here. And this boss, what else is this boss doing? So he also steals all your buffs, puts all debuffs from him onto you, and then starts manipulating them. He has an AoE fear, block active skills. And then also, he also swaps HP, and you've got 12 turns to kill him where he flips back. Then his minions will keep buffing him up. This guy will keep provoking you and putting on reflect damage. This is not so bad, because this is stage 7 right now. But nonetheless, yeah, like this guy is provoking. It just becomes very, like you can see all these debuffs just building up. It's the fact that, like, oh, this is great. We've got decreased attack, decreased defense, secured on the boss. Fantastic. Oh, but Krisk is putting out more buffs and it's flipping stuff. I'm not sure where the buffs. Oh, you know what happened right there? What happened right there is we flipped his debuffs, both flipped into buffs. But Lazarius then removes the buffs or decreases their duration. So that's where it went. But every time you're debuffing this boss, any debuff you've placed on him can flip over. Anytime you buff your own team, any buff you've got on your team can flip over. And then he's also stealing stuff like there. Like, oh my god, this boss is infuriating, man. And then you also got to kill him quickly. And he's got these really tanky minions. This doesn't look, I don't know, maybe this looks really bad. This is, bearing in mind, guys, this is stage 7. Let me see if I can get to the boss. I think he was higher up on the other faction. Let's see if we can get there. Hang on. Okay, so we're about to hit this boss, but we'll see how it goes. I'm not sure what to expect here. Dark Elves is obviously tricky because they don't have good revivers. Or at least I don't have... I mean, is Blindseer even a good reviver? I don't know if you call her good. I don't have her anyway. But yeah, listen. Overall then, we'll see this boss. I'll be doing guides on each of the bosses, so stay tuned. I'll probably do a dedicated video per boss. Oh, he just stole all my stuff, or a lot of it. Mitrala really hard carries this faction. She's unbelievably good, but like we're starting to rack up the old debuffs here is quite bad for us. And the boss now has 3 turns of block debuffs. That's nice. This is stage 14. Stage 14, and there's a stage 21 version of this boss where you got to get past like multiple mythical waves and stuff like that. You got to get past. You got to bring loads of control to actually get through the waves or crazy damage, and then you've got to get past this boss as well. We'll sort of see how this one goes. Like Mithrala being able to resist is huge. This boss particularly, by the way, how do you beat this one? Protection sets can protect your buffs. So 9-piece protection, high resistance, extremely important, and then just like bringing massive raw damage dealers and like ally attack and stuff that's not reliant on buffs and whatnot. But like we've just failed the 2-star. Vizix is dead. We can't bring her back. Yeah, I mean, it just gives you a bit of a concept. So yeah, I mean, I think there's going to be a pretty substantial challenge for most players for Faction Wars Hard. I think, again, if you're an uber cracking late game, it's going to be extremely easy. But for most players, this is going to be a big challenge. I think that the first few stages are very comparable to Faction Wars Normal, and they're a big challenge. And remember, by the way, this guy, when he gets low on HP, he's going to do this. So if you're thinking, you're getting through the boss, actually, okay, Nub. No, we're not. Nuh-uh. Faction Wars, yeah, the first few stages, very like Faction Wars Normal. Probably a fairly appropriate challenge for about the 1-year player. I think the end of Faction Wars, again, this is stage 14, so it's a really nasty boss. But stage 21, like the top of Faction Wars Hard, feels like a pretty appropriate challenge for a typical like 4-year player. Maybe a typical 5-year. I mean, I certainly don't see a 1-year player getting anywhere close. Even a 2-year player, I don't think get anywhere close. It's definitely longer term. So there's a ton of challenges here. It can be quite fun, I think, though, seeing as you're, it's not like Curse City where you've got these quite arbitrary restrictions, which are quite annoying. This one is more straightforward. I build up my faction and I make guaranteed progress and the stuff doesn't change. One really nice thing, I only have to 3-star the stages once. And then I just need to clear the highest stage. And you're going to be getting new relics and stuff that will help with it as well. Needless to say, this boss is not going well. He seems to have been healing himself a bunch. Fatalis doing some decent damage, though. Protected Brimstone, actually pretty sick here. Because he can't throw that back and it nukes him. So that's actually really good. A 6-star Brimstone. Oh, I forgot. Guys, I forgot to mention, because I wasn't even planning to talk about bosses as much as I did here. I forgot to brace yourselves. This is actually the worst part of this, in my opinion, because I actually generally quite like Faction Wars Hard overall. This is the worst part. I genuinely hate this. So we're going to end on a negative note, I'm afraid. But decreases the damage inflicted by the boss for each awakening level on the target champion, up to 25%. So you can get up to 25% damage reduction for having 6-star souls on your champions. This is an even bigger problem. Increase the damage received by the boss. Stacks up to 50%. Yep. Stacks up to 50%. Your damage, if you've got, let's say, if you've got a 2-star damage dealer, you're getting 5% per level. You've got 10% damage. You're missing 40%. You're doing like 2/3 of the damage of someone who's got the 6-star soul. That is rough. It does mean that I guess you'll prioritize champions with high souls a little bit, but you kind of need specific types of champions to do this anyway. So you can absolutely get cooked if you don't have the right soul for the right champions. Like you can just get kind of hard stuck because they're going to be missing so much raw survivability and raw damage as well. That, like, for example, my Supreme Kale, great champion. Well, he doesn't have a soul. He's got no soul. You saw my Supreme Kale, no soul. Well, not only is he screwed because he doesn't have the raw stats and the raw effect of a soul, so that's already he's already screwed. It's like, you just been walking down an alleyway and you just got beaten up and robbed and you're like, oh my god, I don't have a soul. Like this is already sucks. And then a second guy comes along and beats you up and robs you again. And you're like, oh my god, like what is happening? You're getting screwed twice for not having a soul. Yeah. Anyway, rant over. There you go. Faction Warfare. Like I said, we ended on a bit of a negative note there, but on the whole, I think this is very cool. One thing that's important as well, it's going to take time to get through this, guys. 6 keys per stage, and you get, what, 18 keys per day? So you can clear 3 stages per day. So it's going to take 7 rotations of each faction to even potentially get to stage 21. So it will take quite a lot of time. Yeah, it'll definitely take time to clear through the stuff. So you will have quite a bit of time to prepare for the higher stages. And yeah, I mean, also, if you rush through to the end, then it's done. But I mean, like, what are you rushing through to the end for? I guess if you're an arena kraken, that's the ideal thing. But if you're a PvE player, if you if you spend loads of money and you rush to the end of the PvE content, then it's done. Like, what are you rushing to the end for? You've just ended it. There we go. That's Faction Wars Hard. Let me know what you think. First impressions. And yeah, stay tuned for so many guides you won't know what to do. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.